Do Outer Banks.
Please do Outer Banks.
Outer Banks.
You should do Outer Banks.
Okay, so my
suggestion is Outer Banks. I'm not sure if you watched it.
OMG, please
do Outer Banks.
Do Outer Banks.
You should do Outer Banks. Let's do Outer Banks. Welcome in Kota Kingdom. If you are new here, my name is Kota G, and one of my most requested series is doing plot guesses of shows I have never seen before. And speaking of most requested, like a dog over a piece of bacon, y'all have been begging me to do Outer Banks. It is currently the #1 most requested plot for me to guess, and I have never even heard of the show, so I'm shocked that so many of you have flooded my comment sections with this. Since I keep getting accused of cheating, let me explain the rules. 1, I must not have seen a single episode of the show. 2, I am allowed to have heard of the show before as long as I do not know too much information. And 3, I am allowed to look up pictures of the show, and I must base my plot solely off of the pictures. This could be promo pictures, season posters, or simply still frames from the show. Beyond this, I cannot exhaust myself trying to prove my innocence, so you're just gonna have to base your faith off of a pinky promise. Let's get started. Our journey starts with a group of 6 beach baddies. Spoiler alert, I don't know any of their names, so let's give them one. Out of the guys, let's assign them as Cooper, Jack, and Dion. And the girls, let's go with Cassie, Brielle, and Kiana. Of course, they are going to be from a beachy area, and I, being from Kansas in the middle of the United States, do not know many beachy places, so I'm going to guess that Outer Banks is the name of a fictional beach town, and we're gonna say that it's somewhere in Florida. So I chose a random beachy place in Florida and landed on this place I've never heard of called Marco Island. If you know Marco Island, forget about Marco Island, because for this plot, this town is now called Outer Banks. Quick backstory on the friends. I'm assuming that our beach crew met in high school, and the story takes place the summer after their high school graduation, and we get to watch as they try to navigate their new lives ahead of them. Dion and Cassie have great scholarships and are planning on leaving Outer Banks to go to college at the end of the summer, while Kiana, Jack, and Brielle get summer jobs and are planning on saving money for their futures. That leaves us with Cooper, who just does not have a lot going for himself. With that being said, I genuinely could not tell which one of these Abercrombie & Fitch models was our main character, because the pictures I found do a really good job of showcasing each, so they must all have pretty heavy storylines, and while we love to see main character equity, selfishly, this makes it really difficult for me to decide who to place the most emphasis on. But ultimately, I'm gonna go with Cooper, so let's get into him a little more. I'm going to guess that Cooper lives with his mother and they were abandoned by his dad a few years ago before the story takes place. So Cooper knows his dad, he just doesn't know why he vanished. Remember this because it's important to the story later. I'm also going to guess that he doesn't have a good relationship with his mom due to her becoming neglectful because she's having a hard time coping with the dad's disappearance. I see on this picture here that there are the dates 2003 to 2020 and a name of John B. Routledge carved into the tree. And all the friends are sitting around it, saddened, which makes me think that they had a friend in high school that passed away. I'm assuming we don't get to know this friend, we just know that this friend existed. And I'm guessing that Cooper was the most impacted from this friend's death. Speeding up through this section, Cooper does not want to live a cookie cutter life and is craving a life of adventure. Part of that adventure so far has been his friends, and he's realizing that his days are limited with them, so he tries to convince them to be a part of this fantasy life that he's been longing for, and the others are not really on board with it, so he utilizes their dead friend as leverage because it's like what their friend would want, and the friends are like, well, what's the plan? What are we even gonna do with our lives? And Cooper's like, we're gonna be nomads. And everyone else is like, no. And he was like, okay, what if we just try for like a week and see how it goes? And that more or less convinces everybody to be a little more on board. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? We're gonna get there. It's absolute insanity, by the way, but we needed a little cuckoo to drive this plot forward. And it's cuckoo time, so let's get into the first day of cuckoo, shall we? I start the day off by listening to my new album Test Drive on all streaming platforms that you can find in the description of this video, because they love fun pop music and need a little pep in their step to help them feel brave and taking the first step forward in their new journey. After that, they went to my website, kotagmusic.com, also linked in the description of this video, and purchased a digital copy because they loved it so much. And because they purchased a digital copy, they supplied their address in the notes section, and I sent them all handwritten Test Drive thank you cards for supporting the album. Yes, all the way to Outer Banks. Crazy. This could be you too. Thanks for letting me have my little commercial break. Anyway, they pack their bags and leave home, and their parents are like, where are you going? And they're like, I'm gonna go on a trip with my friends. But, you know, like casually leaving out that the trip involves being glorified homeless and unemployed. And the parents are like, aw, little senior vacation. Sounds chill. And chill it was not, because why backpack through Europe when you can backpack along the Gulf of the Gulf of, oh God, the Gulf of, subscribe to my channel. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I actually saw this meme online the other day that said the Gulf of Lady Gaga, so we're just gonna go with that. Let's just say they start walking down the Gulf. Not really sure if you can do that, but let's just pretend. I want to say that things are actually going pretty well at first, but then they realize they're gonna run out of money soon, so they start to get a little nervous. Now, in this world, there are 4 ways to make money. You can ask for it, you can steal it, you can gamble, or you can get a job. And we all know which one they're not gonna do. Because getting a job would completely defeat the purpose of their nomadic adventure, I'm going to assume that they try their luck at gambling. So they all go to the casino and spend what little money they have left in hopes to win some back. Unsurprisingly, everyone loses everything. But have no fear, because God has favorites in this world. And the favorite today was Cooper, who was the only friend to win some money. Now, I actually think that Cooper wins an incredibly large jackpot, and he tells his friends that he won, but like, heavily downplays the amount to the rest of the group. With their new winnings, Cooper decides to rent a boat and treat everyone with a boat ride. They park this boat at a nearby island to hang out and decide to camp out there for the night. Now, I really thought the show was gonna be like frou-frou with a bunch of friends just chilling and enjoying life, and then I was surprised to come across pictures of guns and explosions and characters fighting, and now I'm coming to terms with the fact that this plot may have a lot more depth than I anticipated, and now I have to make sense of all the kabooms. So get ready for the fun part. As they're exploring the island, let's say that the group has a little tension resulting in Kiana storming off by herself. I don't really know what the beef was over, but it is not important. Shortly after, the group hears a giant explosion from afar, so they run back to see what happened and notice a group of guys with weapons committing arson to their boat. Now, what in the Captain Jack Sparrow is going on here? You might think that I would label these yahoos as pirates, but I'm gonna take this a step farther and say they are actually part of a cartel. Only because this show is giving me organized crime vibes and not swashbuckler vibes. The island starts flooding with more cartel members, and the crew is just like, who's gonna talk to them? Maybe we should send Kiana to go talk to them. She's really good at talking to people. Good idea. Hey, Kiana. Kiana. Oh, that's right. Kiana's all by herself. How could we forget? Then they're like, oh yeah, maybe Kiana shouldn't be by herself while we're swarmed by the exact definition of stranger danger with no means of getting off this island. So off to find Kiana they go, but it's not like they can just shout her name. That would give them away to the Cartelli-tubbies. And speaking of giving themselves away to the Cartelli-tubbies, we fast forward and the crew sees that the cartel has actually captured Kiana. Not good. Now, we know the group was fighting, but friends help friends. And surely they're not just gonna sit back while their friend just gets abducted by criminals, right? I totally think that they were thinking about it, but Cooper, our beloved hero, gave everybody a pep talk in hopes to give everyone the courage to go fight for their friend. And did it work? It worked enough. They devised a game plan to infiltrate the cartel, but not only do they have to get their friend back, they need to make it off of the island. So they hope that once Kiana gets back, they can just casually steal a boat to get off the island. So how are they gonna do this? I think they sacrifice someone else from the friend group to get caught, and I think that person is Jack. Once Jack gets captured, they follow closely to see where they take Jack, because surely if they take Jack to a hostage location, Kiana would also be in that hostage location, right? We're gonna go with yes on that one. Now, one random person on the island and the cartel is just like, get him out of here. But 2 random people on the island, now the cartel is starting to get a little suspicious. So our friends have to be a little sneakier. Jack successfully gets caught, and just to make something make a little sense, I think the friends gave him a ton of sand and seashells for him to drop while he's being led to the captivity cell so that the crew can follow that path and know where to go. A few days go by and the remaining crew decides that today is the perfect day to bail their friends out. So they follow the path that Jack led for them and they find Jack and Kiana in a jail cell with little security and free them. On their way out, they're taking like all kinds of weapons and other monetary valuables because let's be real, they definitely deserve the financial compensation from the sheer panic the cartel has sent their friends into. But oh no, just before they make it, they all get caught. They get all the stuff that they've stolen confiscated and all 6 of them get get sent right back to the sales. The cartel is actually kind of worried at this point because now they've been caught by too many people, so they need to make a decision. But we can't let the pawns at the bottom of the totem pole run things around here, so they bring in this We Have Jason Momoa at Home looking character, who is a higher ranking member, to propose to the friends two options. Either join the cartel or be terminated. Everyone's kind of sitting in silence, not really knowing what to say, except Cooper, who says the only thing that could have saved everyone's life. Dad?
Huh?
That's right. I think Mason Jamoma is Cooper's dad who went missing years ago. And the dad's just like, well, ain't this a tight pickle? Cooper's all like, what are you doing in the cartel? And his dad's like, what are you doing at my cartel? And Cooper's like, your cartel? And then we get this long backstory about how his dad left because their family was struggling with money issues and the mom was sick or something, so she couldn't work. So he saw this cartel as an opportunity to make ends meet, but felt like the work would put their family in danger, so he just went to go get milk one day and just never came back. Apparently the mom was also left in the dust with Cooper on this information, so she wasn't in on this either. To fill a plot hole, I'm just gonna say that the dad sends money to the mom that's very convincingly packaged as a disability check so that they have enough to live on without her knowing that he's sending it. And now that we got that awkward introduction out of the way, where do we go from here? So the dad comes up with a plan to convince the cartel members that the friends have chosen death, but is really plotting to secretly get the friends off of the island and back to safety. He starts by assuring the cartel members that he will handle the matter privately, and then rounds up all the friends and then takes them on a little boat ride. But we run into one fatal flaw. One of the other higher-ups finds the situation a little fishy, so he decides to tag along with him. And the dad has to keep up the act or else it will blow his cover and could potentially risk his kid's life. And I guess his kid's friends' lives as well, but let's be real, he just cares about his own child. This is where we meet Dave. I don't know, he just looks like a Dave to me. Dave is at the same level as Cooper's dad and helped start the cartel, so he has like a similar authority and demands to go on the boat with everyone. But before they depart, something is familiar about Dave, and it takes the crew a second for them to pinpoint what it is, and then it clicks. Mr. Routledge. Remember their friend's name that was carved into the tree at the beginning? John B. Routledge? I think you're connecting the dots. It's their dead friend's dad. Oh, but it gets better, because that's not even the most shocking part. And you know what? I'm gonna spoil it. Mr. Routledge brings another guy with him that looks to be the same age as our beach crew. Jumping right to it, I think this is John B. Routledge, their dead friend. John and the friends instantly recognize each other, and this is where their cover gets blown. Mr. Routledge is like, how do you know these kids? And then John turns into a little snitch, outing that Poppy Momoa is Cooper's dad. And then Mr. Routledge starts connecting the dots and gets aggressive towards Mimosa. So now the dads are fighting and he's all like, run kiddo, get on the boat. So the friends start making their way to the boat, but this is where we realize, as torn as he is, John is not on his friend's side. He knows that the stakes of letting them get away threatens their lives if they get on that boat and escape. The group tries to convince John to just come on back with them and start a new life, but John explains to them that he can't because he's legally declared dead and he's kind of buried too deep in this life of crime that it would be more dangerous for him and his loved ones if he wasn't part of the cartel. With all this going on, Cooper's dad injures Mr. Routledge, knocking him unconscious, and risks his life to attack John so that the group can escape. As hard as it was for them to leave their friend, they have to make a decision, and the group decides to hop on the boat, all except Cooper. Cooper is so torn from finding out all this information that he changes his mind at the last second to give up his life to the cartel. His friends are all like, Cooper, be so for real right now. And his dad's like, I'm not risking my life and my reputation for you to change your mind. You have two options right now, and that is escape or die. Cooper is standing his ground on his decision, and now his friends are torn because they don't want to leave their friend behind, but if they don't start moving, then they're all doomed. While Cooper is helping his dad fight John, you hear a gunshot, and it came from Mr. Routledge, who has now awoken from his unconsciousness. The gunshot fatally hits Cooper's dad, and as Cooper watches his dad die, he realizes that his dad was right. He needs to leave, or he will be in the same position. Cooper then enters John and makes a run for the boat, and they all successfully escape. Completely traumatized from the experience, they all agree that the nomadic lifestyle may have been pushing the boundary a little too far. So they all make it home, and everyone's parents are like, oh, how was your vacation, honey? And they're just like, you know, I missed you guys a lot. I think everyone tries to go back to as normal of a life as they possibly can. And then we get info that Mr. Routledge did not recover from his injuries from the fight, thus causing his death. And John now takes over as the leader of the cartel. Also, I think all the friends are now dating because the only thing that brings friends closer than trauma bonding is becoming more than friends as a result of trauma bonding. I think Cooper ends up with Cassie, Jack ends up with Brielle, and Dion ends up with Kiana. And that's what I think Outer Banks is about. I think I'm finally to the point that I'm not allowed to decide on my own which plots I'm going to guess because you all have given me so many options that I just truly cannot keep up. So I will now be taking all of your requests into consideration. This does not have to be shows, as I have done movies and video games, and will even consider animes and books. So if you have a suggestion, please leave them in the comments, and until next time.